Welcome to another episode of Unedited. I'm your host, Ethan Andrews, and
Jordan McClellan.
also a host.
Also a host, yes.
I realized I said I'm your host, hoping you would say I'm also your host.
No. I wasn't on the same wavelength. Sorry about that, buddy.
Well, we're excited for another week, another episode. This week we've got some more fun stuff. We're going to be doing In My Feed, Parley, In the Neighborhood, and getting back to some How About You? So
Absolutely.
pretty excited for today.
How was your May long weekend, Ethan?
My May long weekend was awesome. You want to know why?
Why?
I actually don't know if you know this. It was my anniversary.
Yes, I did know that.
Oh, nice.
I
There
saw
you
it.
go.
I saw it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, so year
2 days
7
ago.
for my wife and I, and
Congratulations.
we're just chilling out, man. It was awesome.
That's amazing.
Love it. Just had the weekend off at home. It was a rainy weekend.
Yeah.
We're just at home. We're big, rainy, indoor vibe people,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Are you guys like that too?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
100%. So I don't mind rain from time to time.
Mhm.
On the long weekend, I'm glad it wasn't like pouring or anything like
Mm.
that. But the Monday, Tuesday, it's been a nice little break. Good
Did
for
you
the,
golf this weekend?
good for the ground. I didn't. No.
Interesting.
No. I had a couple. My youngest daughter turned 5, so we did a couple
Oh.
little parties for Jovi,
Nice.
which was a ton of fun.
That's
and went to a hockey tournament. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's this hockey tournament?
it's the Chiefs Thunderstick hockey tournament, which is dedicated to Fred Saskatoon, the first Indigenous player to ever play in the NHL.
It's cool.
And yeah, it's a huge tournament. It's gotten so competitive. 40 men's teams, 24 ladies teams.
It's crazy, man.
Tons of talent, WHL
Yeah.
players, AHL players, semi-pro.
It's a big
And,
league, right?
It is,
Like,
yeah. It was a
so, yeah.
blast, actually. I had a couple buddies come with me, a couple family members who were down there, and it was good. Our team didn't win, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So let's
You
move on
guys
from
left
it.
just
No.
raging. Yeah, you're like, I actually don't want to talk about
Yeah,
it. Thank you very much.
exactly.
Can we move on?
Yeah, it actually was. It was a tough loss in a way because the team was so good that we kind of felt like we're going to be the first team to repeat that they were going to be,
Yeah.
and just never happened. So
Well, you know what they say.
what's that? Try again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it was something like that.
I was
so.
trying to find a way to say
Better
it.
luck
I was
next
like,
time.
it's like, this is just going to sound really mean. So I was like, how do I actually say that? But
Yeah.
anyway, why don't we get into the episode for today?
Sounds good.
First off, we're going to start off with In My Feed.
All right, let's do it.
In my feed.
My feed item this week is going to be no surprise to you, actually,
Okay.
because even though we haven't talked about it directly, we also had a conversation around it just recently.
Okay.
Which is, I saw through my timeline, it was a couple weeks ago, something that excited me to my core. I'm a big pizza person, okay? To preface this, I love all types of pizza. Pizza's always amazing. It's never a bad choice.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a chicken sandwich. You could eat it any time, which is another thing. I mean, let's talk about sandwiches another time. But pizza is just crazy. Anyway, getting too excited here. But the point is that
I feel the excitement. I like
yeah.
it. So
Are you
yeah,
on the
it's
same
good.
page about pizza?
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do like pizza. Yeah, I really do.
I realize I'm not saying anything and I keep on saying it, but it's just because I get too excited about pizza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I have had periods in my life where pizza was just a little too overdone,
Yeah.
and I could lose a tad of my excitement. But I do love pizza. It's great.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I've had those times. One time I ate pizza for 9 consecutive meals and didn't realize until the 9th meal.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed every single time.
I was happy.
Do you like pizza old better than fresh?
Not better, but I like it just
Okay.
as much. It's a
Okay.
different thing.
Do you warm it up?
It depends. Toaster oven at home?
Okay. Air fryer is
That's good.
amazing too.
Really?
Yeah, you put it in, and the cheese comes out, and it's like melty already. Like it's
Interesting.
fantastic.
I don't have an air fryer.
Okay,
I'll come to your place. I'll borrow
I'll
your
make
air
I'll
fryer.
make you pizza. Yeah, I'll let you take the air fryer home one day. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the feed. All right. So in my feed, I saw, we could talk about, obviously for a while, we could talk about pizza, but I saw in my feed something come up regarding pizza and
Okay.
my favorite, probably, one of my favorite like fast food places, which is a Canadian staple, Tim Hortons,
Yes.
obviously. And you know that for me, if I drink coffee, it's going to be at Timmy's.
Yeah.
That's what I like
Double
to do.
double.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You know me so well.
There you go.
But I saw a few weeks back that they were like, hey, Tim Hortons, we're releasing pizza. All right.
Yeah.
And I read this article, and it was like all about, like, this is the thing, is I read every word of that article, like the thirsty son of a gun that I am. And I was looking through, and I was like, oh, they're trying these out, and they hope they go good. They're going to do them for a year. And if they sell well, they'll expand it, whatever, you know. And I was like, oh, man, I hope they sell well. And I haven't even tried them yet. But I just want Tim Hortons to sell pizza. You know?
As do I.
Like,
I think just by principle, it's good for it to be on the menu, right?
You remember McDonald's pizza?
So, yes.
People loved
They
it.
were awesome.
It went away. Everybody talks about it all the time.
I know.
I'm like, bring it back. Tim Hortons, you can fill that gap. And I read in the article that, man, I wish I actually, unfortunately, lost the article. So I can't reference it here. So bear with my paraphrasing here. But they were saying that a large percentage of takeout is accounted for with pizza, like throughout the year. So pizza is like a big market to corner for fast food places. And Tim Hortons, if like anybody's unfamiliar with Tim Hortons, I can't imagine who in our listenership would be, but if you're unfamiliar with Tim Hortons, it's like coffee, donuts.
Yeah.
That's their staple. Then they ended up getting into soup sandwiches, you know, and that kind of fits with a coffee shop vibe.
Yeah.
And then they kind of even expanded further into, like, now they got chicken sandwiches. Hey, there we go. Return of the chicken sandwich. Rice bowls. What else? They've got all sorts of stuff, and now they're doing pizza. So some people are like, slow your roll, Tim Hortons, all right? Get back to the coffee and donuts. Just focus on what you do good and just sell us that stuff. We don't want to see your granola bars in the grocery store. We don't want to see Timbits cereal, you know. But I'm like, I don't care about what you do outside of Tim's, but I want you to have good pizza.
Just go for it.
So the reason that this is in my feed for this week is because I actually got a chance to try one, and it was in your presence as well.
It was in my presence, yeah.
And that was
it looked
was
tasty.
great.
It looked way better than it had any right looking, and I mean that respectfully.
Yep.
Because typically when you think of fast food pizza, you expect it to look a certain way. The pizza looked great.
It had no right. Had no right being that tasty. You know,
That's funny.
Even the sauce was like slightly sweet.
Yeah,
You know, Red Swan pizza. A little bit of a sweeter sauce, eh?
it is.
It's not the same as the Tim sauce, but it's comparable in the sweetness level.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really want you to try it so we can talk about
Well,
it.
and when you were eating it, you the first thing you said after one bite was already better than like Little Caesars or something.
Oh
like that,
yeah.
right?
Okay. Little Caesars can go die in a hole.
Can just go away.
Yeah. It's not good pizza. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah.
Yeah. No, when I heard Tim's was doing pizza, I was kind of shocked by that because it's like when they started doing breakfast sandwiches. Back in the day, that was a big deal, right?
That's
when they
right.
started doing that
That's
because
right.
they were using like the biscuits instead of like the typical like hamburger buns kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the pizza, it looks great. It looks fantastic. I am going to have to try it soon.
I'm hesitant of flatbread pizza because sometimes it feels like half pizza.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be a real pizza. How many times have we said pizza in this episode? Hey?
Lots. This is the pizza talk
Just
today.
call it the pizza so. You know?
That's where we're going.
But yeah, I mean, it was good for a flatbread pizza. Like I was tickled.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to revisit this and come back to it sometime.
Welcome to Unedited, the food podcast.
There you go.
Where we
Have you tried Tim Hortons pizza? Anybody out there? I'd like to know your view, your review, and what you thought of it.
That's
because it's interesting to see what a crowd of people would think about a certain something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want me to go?
Yeah. Let's
In my
hear
feed?
about your feed. What's your feed?
Okay. So I was reading this past week. I've been going to Yahoo for this, and like I never go to Yahoo. I literally started going to Yahoo since we started doing this this new version of Unedited. And the reason I go there is because they post every single pointless use of information all over that place, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just
It's a
information
mess.
overload,
Yeah.
right? Like when Google came out, everyone liked it because it was simple. And then Yahoo was just like uncontrolled chaos all over the page, right? But here's what I read. Here's what I found. I found that McDonald's is going to be taking out their self-serve drinks. So you know how when you go to McDonald's, they just give you a cup and you go and fill up the drink yourself?
Yeah.
They're getting rid of those. And refills are gone by
What do you mean?
2032. By 2032, there'll be no more self-serve drinks at McDonald's, and refills are probably going to be charged for at some point.
What?
Yeah. So what do you think of that? Is that groundbreaking for you? Is that a different thing? Like I remember thinking, I saw this and I thought to myself, I bet you a lot of people go there, eat, and plan on filling their cup before they leave again, and taking some pop with them for the day or something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan by 2032 to phase it all out. Self-serve drinks are going to be goners.
That's crazy to me because it's such a staple.
It is.
And,
Yes.
And to think, like, what's the benefit? Like, how much does that carbonated water and a little bit of syrup cost?
Well, and that's it. I don't know if it's a money thing or what. What I do find interesting is McDonald's has gone the way of basically getting rid of people serving you at the till. Like most people just use the computers and machines that are in the store, right, to do this. Yeah. But now they're going to have to pour your drink for you. So they're going back to that because I always thought
more manual labor.
Yeah, I always thought the self-serve option was because they want to get rid of the
extra work
at
the
extra till.
Thing to do. Yeah. Well, and it makes me think about a very controversial thing that McDonald's has done is adding in there it is.
Yeah.
It's right there beneath that ad. This is for audio listeners. Jordan just showed me his laptop to prove that it's a real article.
Yeah.
But to think that they also did the self-serve kiosks, where you come in, not everybody likes those, where you have to like enter your order yourself.
No, I'm not a huge fan of it.
I don't like it.
I'd much prefer like talking to someone and entering my order that way.
I wonder what's better for McDonald's employees, and I wonder what's better for their opportunity to employ more people. Because part of me would be a knee-jerk reaction where I think, well, are you cutting back work hours where somebody could have this job doing this because you're trying to save money, so you make us do it on a screen?
Yeah.
And that doesn't sit well with me, but I don't know that that's true.
And it's funny because I was at this, I'm just going to change the subject for 1 second quickly.
Please do.
But that exact same conversation happened behind me yesterday when I was at the grocery store.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman who waited in line. There was nobody at the self-checkouts, and there were 3 of us in line.
Yeah.
And I was at the front of the line.
Yeah.
But the gentleman behind me said to the gentleman in front of him that, no, I'm not touching those things. That takes away jobs. That takes away employment opportunities. And I don't work here, he said, so I'm not going to use that. And it's interesting that there is that line of thought that even though these things might make it quicker for us leaving the building, they also have the reverse effect that they seem to take away from employment, right?
This is the thing, because like really that's what we would all think, right? I think generally is we would assume it's taking away job opportunities and stuff, right? But then for McDonald's to do this is backwards. If that's
that's what I thought.
They're putting more work on people's hands. I mean, pouring a drink, how much time does that add?
Yeah, and
but when you worked in fast food, when you're working in fast food, like it's fast paced, right?
It is.
You don't necessarily want to be pouring a drink, right?
No, they only do it through drive-through because drive-through you have no choice, right?
Right.
And so now to do it back at the till again, it's going to be something else. I remember working at A&W when I was like 17, and they do the frosted mugs there. And that was even more of a pain to pour because you have to deal with the carbonation. You have to deal with everything like that. You have to tilt the glass, right?
Yeah, the frosted mugs, that's a classic thing, man.
It's the best thing ever.
Do you still go to A&W and like do you get
occasionally?
That
always. If I have the opportunity to get the frosted mug, I'll ask for it. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, I will. Yeah, every time. But I wonder what this McDonald's thing is going to mean for people in the sense of like, I wonder if it'll hurt them to an extent. I doubt it because McDonald's is such a giant in the food industry.
Right.
But like I think a lot of people love the fact that you just get your cup and you can refill it as much as you want. You could sit there, right?
Yeah.
And taking that out does seem backwards. It doesn't seem like a forward-thinking idea.
Yeah.
It seems
interesting.
Yeah. Now who knows? Maybe they'll give bottles or something like that. But I have no clue.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a fan of that.
Nope, me neither.
More wasted material or stuff that's not going to hit the recycling bin. But interesting that we both had in my feed some fast food stuff. Yeah, I like it.
Seems to be going that route. Well, let's see what we do in this next segment because I think it's time to parlay.
Parlay.
All right,
you ready for
parlay?
Okay, let's do it. So I think we agreed on this one. I think we thought we would go down this route today. Since we're talking about food in this episode, there's no point in reversing that course right now.
Let's just stick to it.
Let's just get with it. Stay in that lane.
Get on board, people.
Yeah,
it's a food podcast now.
Let's just go with that. We're heading down that.
In the neighborhood's just going to be food as well.
Here we go. We'll talk about food. But this one can be a good debate. I think this one's interesting in a sense. And the question is a hot dog a sandwich? Is it a sandwich? So I have all sorts of views on this to an extent. I think I could probably argue both sides.
Yeah.
Can you?
I think I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay. Do you want to know my initial reaction?
Please.
No.
Well,
It's not a sandwich. I don't think it is. And that's where I want to land. I want to land there.
Yeah.
But I could also entertain thoughts on the other side of that argument too.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a sandwich. I feel like and this is probably just the way, I think it has a lot to do with the way you're raised and how you grow up. And for me, growing up, sandwiches involve cold cuts, cheese, some sauce and lettuce and tomato or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And or it was peanut butter and jam, or it was something along those lines,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And sandwich was something for me that kind of grew more when Subway kind of came around. The city I lived in didn't get a Subway till I was in like grade 5 or 6, and then all of a sudden, like the whole thought of paying for a sub was like backwards to me, because you don't pay for something that you make for lunch.
So that's a home food.
And you don't enjoy, right? Like I never really enjoyed my sandwiches at lunch. It was just a way to eat and just to make it quick, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But Subway reinvented that. All of a sudden, we paid for them. We loved them. We put stuff on them. We tried new things. And for me, a hot dog, it's always been something other than a sandwich for me. Like it can be a sandwich in the sense, I guess, that it has the bun, the bread, and the meat, right? And then the sauce. But I don't know. And I guess some people get a little creative with it. You could put some peppers on there. You could put some onions if you want. You could throw some pierogies in there, I've seen before.
You could get spicy with it. Get a little jiggy with it for sure.
Definitely can.
I don't know though, because so this is the thing. I just for clarity for listeners and viewers, Parley is less about us taking sides and more about discussing, debating together.
Yeah.
So we're in episode 1, we had a little bit more of a side versus side.
In the odd time, we'll spar.
But in this case, I could really. So, I wish I could just come at you really hard, playing the opposite side.
Yeah.
And just being really vehement about, it's a sandwich, but I'm in the same place as you.
Interesting.
Like the fact that it's even a question to me kind of bothers me a little bit.
Yes.
Because I'm like, what do you mean a sandwich? Like it's just bread and a piece of, like is a sausage and a bun a sandwich,
Well, exactly. And this drives me nuts when I go to fast food restaurants, as they call burger sandwiches. Yeah. And they call breakfast sandwiches, like the eggers and stuff like that. Yeah. That doesn't bug me as much, I guess. But the burgers, when I go to, like for A&W, for example, if I go to order a burger, they'll be like, would you like the combo or just the sandwich? And I'm sitting there. I'd like the burger, please.
Interesting.
Right? Because I see the burger as a burger.
Something's coming alive in you right now.
I'm telling you.
This.
It's finally letting this out, eh? All these years of ordering burgers and being called sandwiches.
Call it a burger, please.
It's just rising to the surface right now.
Poor middle-aged workers just like trying to do their best, and you're like, give me the burger.
I'm always polite, and I smile, and I enjoy it. But in
in
my
the
mind,
drive-thru.
I think it flags every time. This is not a sandwich. This is a burger.
You know what? That's funny, because I would call it a sandwich.
Okay.
Because a crispy chicken sandwich is not necessarily a crispy chicken burger.
See,
people call them chicken burgers.
I always see it as chicken burger.
Really? I always call it a sandwich.
Okay.
Like, there's a place in town, Hey Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's so good. Check it out.
Chicken sandwiches are great.
Yep.
But Hey Fried Chicken in Saskatoon. But I call it a sandwich. It's a chicken sandwich. A Nashville chicken sandwich, not a Nashville chicken burger.
Why do you struggle with hot dog then, being a sandwich?
Well, because the contents of a chicken sandwich or a beef burger is like the same as a sandwich. It's just dressed differently.
Okay. I
but
can
it's
see
like
that.
you get
Lettuce,
your meat,
tomato, and cheese,
condiments,
and stuff.
lettuce, all that stuff. So really, you are making a sandwich with different entrails, perhaps.
Okay.
But with a hot dog, I'm like, it's just not even. I've heard people say it's more closer to a taco than a sandwich.
And I could see that, because
but I also think that's dumb.
I don't like it. Yeah. Speaking of which, just reminded me of something. A&W just brought back the whistle dog yesterday.
Oh.
So it's around for another month or so.
Is that like with bacon and stuff?
Yeah, it's a hot dog. You slice it in the middle.
Okay.
You put cheese and bacon on top.
All right.
And the sauce is relish, which you got to get rid of. You always order.
You don't like relish?
I don't. Not just relish. There has to be other stuff with
relish, man.
Do you? So I order mine usually with no relish. I ask for teen sauce, which is like their tangy mayo.
Yeah.
And it tastes great on there. Or better yet, ranch. No relish, just put ranch on that thing. It tastes perfect.
Ranch.
I used to work at an A&W when I was a teenager, and we used to experiment with everything.
Ranch, though?
Ranch was our favorite on the whistle dog, yeah.
Okay, what else do you eat ranch with, Jordan?
Everything. Put it on burgers.
What do you
put it all over stuff.
What do you-
Ranch is like
I
that
didn't know you
sauce.
were a ranch guy.
You could just I could put ranch on a breakfast sandwich.
Okay, we're years deep into our friendship.
Yeah.
And even our working relationship.
Yes.
And I didn't know you were a ranch guy.
I like ranch. It's great.
I have so much disdain for ranch people.
I love ranch.
Not actually listeners, viewers. I don't actually have disdain for ranch people, but it's one of those things I don't get. I'm like, man, if I have too much ranch on a salad, I want to gag. Like,
Okay.
It's like, ooh,
Yeah, and that's the funny thing. That's the one place I might not use it is a salad.
really?
Yeah, if I'm using like a chef salad, I'll usually go for like Catalina or French.
Yeah.
Or I'll want Italian, or
Yeah.
or even the odd time I'll go for Thousand Island. But ranch is more for like using as a sauce, like ketchup for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of how I use it.
So do you use it as a dip, as a condiment?
Yes, with wings,
Put
I
it
have
on
to have ranch.
burgers.
Have to have it. Yeah, it's good on burgers.
It's not good on burgers.
It is good on burgers.
It's not good on
really
burgers.
good, especially if you do lettuce burgers, like without the bread. Just throw some ranch
See,
on
now
top of
you're
that
just-
thing. It's perfect.
You're just making a handheld salad
Well,
if you're
kind
having
of,
that.
I guess.
So
And I just contradicted myself because I don't put it on salads. So.
yeah.
But
Okay, we need to move on from ranch because I'll get stuck here. I'll
Okay.
stall out.
It's just too
This
much.
is surprising. A private one-on-one conversation is going to follow up this episode. We need to talk about this.
we'll have to sit and
A
chat about
ranch
it.
guy is in our midst, producer Ashley.
But I think we've established the fact that hot dogs are not sandwiches.
To us, I think we were on the same page.
Yes,
Parley successful.
and we are right. So
Oh man, producer Ashley just wrote in the notes that she likes ranch.
I appreciate that. I like ranch too. So, Ethan, I don't
Listeners-
know why. So we're talking
Listeners
about,
and viewers-
talking about things rising to the surface here all of a sudden.
Oh my gosh.
So-
Dude. Okay, when I was younger, my sister will murder me if she ever hears this. But when I was younger, my sister was a ranch person, so she put ranch on everything.
And it just kind
I
of.
think she just had a salt deficiency. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
just
always wanted
She
ranch.
just craved it, right? So she would have like rice with ranch mixed in.
Yeah, I could sort of see it.
Okay,
A little bit,
No.
though. Little bit, not
No.
cake. You can't cake it on there though. Okay, so this will really answer. This will really
Alright.
tell me something. When she ate Doritos,
you're testing me.
was she
Doritos?
Was she getting zesty or nacho cheese, or was she ordering Cool Ranch?
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say
Right?
dipping Doritos
because
in ranch.
I don't love Cool Ranch Doritos.
Cool Ranch Doritos are better than ranch.
No, I disagree.
better.
I disagree.
Okay,
How did we
listeners,
end up on
viewers,
ranch here?
We
We're
need
supposed
to
to be talking about hot dogs.
Yeah, we need to get back on track. But listeners and viewers, please tell us: are you a ranch person? Are you so like? We'll recap this, and how about you at the end? We
Yes.
want to have your feedback about all of this, but we want to know about the Tim Hortons pizza. We want to
Yeah.
know about ranch.
Yes.
You tell us if you think a hot dog's a sandwich as well. Which
And if you
just beware, whoever reads the comment between us, I mean, for ranch.
you're gonna get something back.
Yeah.
That's gonna be probably positive or negative.
You're gonna get hit back by me hard, all right?
Depending,
You're
okay?
gonna get private DMs. They're just gonna be. It's straight up hate mail. It's gonna what you're gonna
Okay.
get back from me.
Okay. And
No,
if you
that's
go
not-
if you go
that's
to
not
A&W in the next week or two and you order the whistle dog, remember, no relish, extra ranch, and say your buddy Ethan told you to get it. Okay.
Why'd you have to say extra?
Well, because that's what you get, extra
No,
ranch, and say
no.
my friend Ethan eats it this way,
Yeah.
and we'll honor you through that. Sound
Man,
good?
on my tombstone, I hope it says "didn't eat it that way." Didn't eat it that way. No reference other than that.
I think it's time to segue. Eh?
Yeah. Well, it was a good parlay.
It was good.
Ended up. We should have probably actually talked about whether ranch is good.
Yes, we're learning things. It's
Yeah.
a new format.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
But now it's time for In the Neighborhood.
In the neighborhood. Sounds good.
In the neighborhood.
What have
Okay.
you got from what's going on in the neighborhood on your end here this week?
Well, a few things. Last week I was in a bit of a conference, but I did it differently than you did, and we'll get to that shortly. But we had services this past weekend. Pastor Louis talked about the body of Christ being one. He talked about unity, and especially being united even in our diversity. And I think that's huge. I think that's so huge, especially in the church and just being with people, is that sometimes when we hear the word oneness or unity, we think that means we all have to think the same, or we all have to have the same preferences, or we all have to like the same stuff, right? But really, we're a diverse group. We're a diverse group of people. We all have our preferences. We all have the things we like, dislike, interests. And in a lot of ways, a lot of that stuff's not going to be the same. And yet, Yet I think there's still an opportunity, though, that even despite those little things, we could still be united in Christ. We could still be united in purpose. We could still be united in the important things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, although I just have to say that I am reading your subtext here as well.
About ranch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. I knew it. And I was not, I'm not planting shots at you here as I'm saying this.
You orchestrated this, didn't you?
Did not
You're like,
do
I'm going to
this.
drop the ranch bomb on Ethan. He doesn't know I'm a ranch person.
This is as spontaneous as we've been.
You're just like, have a little grace with me, would you?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just looking for a little love.
That's the thing. But like Jesus, the last thing he prayed in John 17, now last words would mean a lot, right? And as he's praying, one of the things that he thinks to pray about is that the church that those who follow him would be one, that they'd be united. And then he seems to say that, but because of this, the world will see him,
Right.
and the world will see goodness and love and all that stuff, right?
Right.
And for me in that sense, it convicted me a few years ago when I thought about this, because if it was one of the last things Jesus prayed about, it makes me ask myself the question, well, how often do I pray about unity of the church in my prayer life? And at the time it was never, right?
Right.
And since then it's become more of a prayer topic that I've gone back to. But I think it's important. And I think especially in the times we live in where there's so much that can kind of divide us, we need to focus on what is it that brings us together, and that's Christ. That's who we are in him. And in that there can be unity, in that there can be love. Even with differences of opinions, we can still care for each other, respect each other, look out for one another. And it's good for the world to see a church living that way.
Yeah, you used to, if I can jump in on what you're saying, because
Please.
this is really crucial stuff, I think, if you're just interested in exploring Christian faith, even from the point of whether you've been in the Christian faith for a long time or you're just looking at it from the outside, it's something really big to understand that's a big marker of what Christianity is supposed to be, right? And you used an interesting phrase there talking about the world, and I think that depending where you come from, depending your backgrounds, that may or may not ring out different ideas in your head of what that means. But in Scripture, and when we're talking just in broad strokes about what Jesus was teaching at the time, like the world would have been an inclusive term, like everybody, like humanity even you could use instead of the world.
And that's what I was thinking, actually, as I said that.
But then when Jesus talks about his new way,
Yeah.
and he talks about how he's going to set up like a way to live that's different, then the world becomes like a contrast, right?
Yeah,
so it's
to the
like
new
everybody
kingdom,
else versus what we're going to do if you follow me, Jesus speaking, right? And so when we talk about, what, like using that term, I just feel like kind of clearing that up a little bit. But when we talk about like the world does this versus we do this, it's like everybody, including us, humanity, would do this.
Yeah.
It's about understanding like our condition as humans, right? And I think that it's something that we do recognize is that humanity, or the world, is good at understanding unity through conformity. We get that. And you look at it through like human history, even like different groups, tribes, nations, factions, people are pretty good at staying unified if everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
But what we're not good at is staying unified when we have diversity.
Bingo.
And I mean, you look at even like racial tensions in our country, one of the big issues is that there's not conformity in certain areas. And there's obviously, like, I'm not trying to, let's not get into the whole subject because there's too much to even say, but we recognize that diversity causes problems in the world or in humanity. And so I think that that's one of the things that Jesus says, if you follow him, you're supposed to stand out because the unity exists even in diversity.
Exactly.
Like you're still unified. Anyways, it's really
and
powerful stuff.
He brings us together, even though if we were to focus simply on our preferences and our opinions and even in some ways our interests, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It naturally can drive us apart. And yet Christ says, even despite all that, and in some ways, actually in all ways, I think God planned all that, that we wouldn't be the exact same, that we would have differences of opinions and giftings and just different things that we like to do, right? Abilities, talents, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, the point is that we're supposed to be diverse, and yet unity is possible in him. And that's, when that happens, it's an amazing thing to see.
Absolutely.
Because so often the experience we get, unfortunately, in the world that we live in sometimes is we find that when we have these differences of opinion and stuff, they push us apart from each other and cause us maybe sometimes to write each other off or to avoid one another, right? And yet in Christ, it's perfectly fine to have that stuff, and yet you're still one because of him.
Yeah.
So
a house divided against itself will fall, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Who did that? Who said that?
Jesus.
Yeah.
That was Jesus.
Nice.
Matthew.
Right on. It was a pop quiz.
Yeah.
I actually, I feel like that's a troubling but also encouraging thing to realize in our current times is that there's a lot of promotion of like picking your side in an issue.
Yes.
And entrenching yourself. I don't even need to bring up issues for people to have examples coming to mind.
Oh, for sure. Just bring politics up in a room, right?
Oh, exactly.
And all of a sudden, you could have like a peaceful, nice visit turn into a crazy thing.
Yeah, it's the
Within
classic
time.
like don't bring it up at Thanksgiving thing. You know, like it's And I think that like if the church is doing what Jesus informed his followers to do, then I think we'll see less and less of that.
I agree. Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. No, it was a good teaching, and I just think it's something good for us to always look at. And I think if we want to be, if you're a part of the church and you want the world to see a biblical example of the church, it'll look more like that than not, right? And so we had a conference this past week. In our fellowship, I took it in a different way than you did.
Yeah, you were virtual.
I was, yeah.
And well, I'll ask you how it went in a minute. But this conference was in Niagara Falls, Ontario.
It was,
and this is kind of like a complicated title, but it's the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada General Conference for 2024. So it's just where a whole buttload of ministers get together, and we all talk about strategy and vision and stuff. But then we also do some like business stuff, like voting on changes to Constitution and stuff. But so I went down to Niagara Falls and had a good time. You were up here. How did it go? How did you feel things went when you were just like zooming in? Because I feel, was it on Zoom or what?
No,
was it on?
it was broadcasted mainly on YouTube. Some of the side sessions were on Zoom.
Okay.
But I stuck mainly to the YouTube sessions because they were way better audio and way better presentation.
And were you doing like chat back in YouTube and stuff?
Well, and here's the interesting thing about it is like I had the opportunity to come and join you and come down to that conference, but I decided just to take it in virtually this time. And that's the first time I've ever done this. And I had some FOMO on the Saturday, Sunday, a little bit.
Yeah.
I started thinking, why didn't you go to Niagara Falls this weekend?
Yeah.
Are you nuts kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't go is just because it sounded exhausting because I would have had to have left early Monday morning. Like we're talking fly out here at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Get there, rent a car, drive on a crazy highway for a couple hours, right? And then leave conference Thursday morning, probably around 6 a.m. again, and kind of come back and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And part of me was just like, that sounds like a lot, and there's a lot going on right now that I'll just take it in from home. So I had a little.
You got a family, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it was a little FOMO at first, but actually once the conference started, I loved it. I don't think I've ever been more engaged in a conference.
Really?
Like, if I was there in person, I might not have been as engaged as I was watching it online because I took in every session.
Yeah.
There's a little chat feature on the Hova app that we used for the conference. And I was talking with fellow pastors from all over Saskatchewan, a couple from Manitoba. I had long conversations with 3 or 4 people that I normally don't, converse with.
Yeah.
And we chatted back and forth about how things were going. We talked
cool,
about the
man.
sessions together in real time. I think I was texting with you a ton on the second day during one of the sessions,
That's true.
back and forth with you and even Louie, right?
Yeah.
We were kind of going back and forth on things. And so it was a unique way to do it this time. Do I want to go in person again? Yes, I do. Because I enjoy just seeing people and being there and taking in the experience. And Niagara Falls cannot hurt to take in as well, right? Although I heard food was crazy there, and maybe you can inform us
a story,
about that in a second. But virtually, I think since COVID, since the pandemic, we learned that, a lot of this stuff can be done online. And this opportunity didn't exist like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like even 5 years ago, probably. It wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
And so to do it from home went way better than I expected.
Well, that's good, man. I'm glad it did because I was kind of wondering if there was, like a little bit of that FOMO.
There was a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. Well, when I see everyone posting like pictures of them standing under falls with like rain gear on, I'm like, oh my goodness, McClellan, what were you thinking, right?
Yeah.
So,
I could show you pictures later. I was tempted to whip them out right now, but that's not really good content, is it? But
okay.
I think it was like it was interesting because I didn't want to go to Niagara Falls for Niagara Falls. I was like, I mean, waterfalls are cool.
Yeah.
But you know the
That's kinda how I
famous
see it too. Yeah.
the famous waterfalls in Manitoba.
Pisu Falls.
Pisu Falls.
Northern Manitoba. Beautiful place.
So
yeah.
both of us would like that.
Yes.
We think
would.
that's pretty. It's nice. Shout out to Manitoba, Pisu Falls, just south of Thompson by
Yes.
like 40 minutes or something.
Yeah.
right?
40, 45 minutes.
Producer Ashley's been there.
Yes, she has. That's right.
I think we went together one time, actually.
I was going to say, I was with you one time you went as well. So
That's our common denominator,
Yeah,
is that
we've
Ashley
all-
was with us both
We've
times.
all went to Pisu Falls. Yeah. Pisu Falls is incredible, though, because of how close you can get to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And in the winter, everything freezes over. There's big clumps of
Yeah.
like ice and snow,
Snow
on these
everywhere.
trees, and it's all evergreens,
Yeah.
like all over the place. Anyway, I digress. The point is like I've seen those falls. I've seen Kakabeka Falls in Thunder Bay, or outside of Thunder Bay, and I was kind of like, for a conference, like, okay, I'll go see them, but it wasn't like, I'm not going to go pay money to go down there. you know?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
when the
yeah,
conference was there, I was like, cool, I can take in the falls now.
Yeah.
And let me just say that other than the falls, Niagara Falls is not the best place. Like, so not to trash talk
No,
anything, but
it's just your experience,
I got
right?
down there and so there's like this little road that they call like a mini Vegas.
Okay.
And it's just the weirdest thing. It's like an exhibition ground, like what we would have out here in the prairies, just set up like all the time, like shops built into, like, it's a whole street. Have you been? Have you been?
No, I've been down there, yeah.
So you know what I'm talking
So-
about. There's like the upside down house.
Yeah.
There's like a house of horrors. There's like Ripley's Believe It or Not is
Do they
down
still have
there.
that? The Wax Museum?
Yeah.
Okay, that I found that was cool when I went last time.
So my brother lives in Southern Ontario, and he
Okay.
came out to visit me for a little bit while I was in Niagara. Between sessions, we would hang out and stuff. And this one night, we wanted to go grab some food together for supper between the session breaks of the conference. So he comes and picks me up, and he takes me down to this place, and he's like, you just have to see it once. So I go walking through, and I was like, I saw it. Let's get out of here. Like, I don't want to be here. This is not a vibe for me. People look like, the quintessential photos of like a super tired out, like dad watching his kids at like a fair or something. He's like sunburnt. He's sitting on a bench, just like, like it's just, that's everybody that was there was just that, like a perpetual state of exhaustion. And anyway, we decided we wanted to grab some food, but we had parked the car. Everywhere to park down there is crazy expensive. Like behind the hotel that I was staying at was $45 a night to park your car.
Yeah.
And then so you could find a place for $20 for a day or whatever. But we found a spot for $5 and we started walking. And I was like, we're not going back to the car until we're out of here, because we don't want to like start paying for parking elsewhere, So we're like, we need to eat within like whatever block radius of where we park the car. So we start walking around. We can't find a place. We're like, well, maybe there, but everything seems a little gimmicky. And we're like,
I know where you went.
I
I think you told me, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Where was it?
Hard Rock Cafe?
That's right. Okay. So me and my brother had never been to one.
Okay.
I've never understood the hype. I told my brother when we were going, and I said, Hard Rock Cafe is Hard Rock Cafe because Hard Rock Cafe says it's Hard Rock Cafe.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
And everyone buys a glass every time they go there or something and
Exactly.
puts it
It's
up.
like buy a T-shirt. Like it's only
Yeah.
big because they say they're big. Like
Yeah.
it's anyway, in my opinion.
How was your experience? Was
So
the
we
food
go
good?
in. They have a messy burger.
Yeah.
And interesting because it's called a messy burger, but
Okay.
it's a chicken sandwich.
We're back on food.
But that's right. And it's a double layered chicken sandwich, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
But we were just like, yeah, let's just try that, whatever. Guess how much it costs for me to just eat one burger at this Hard Rock Cafe in Niagara Falls?
Wouldn't be surprised if it was $25-$30.
You're too low.
Am I too low? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, probably 40 now? 40, 50?
$45.
That's
For
unbelievable.
a chicken sandwich,
Yes.
dude.
Yeah.
But that was Niagara
Burger.
Falls, man. Everywhere we went. No, but even like I went to, there was a TGIF.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Or is it TGI Fridays?
I think it's TGIF. I don't know.
Okay.
They go
Well,
on
it's a
Fridays,
restaurant.
yeah.
It's an American chain, right?
Yeah.
But it was there. And first conference night that we're there, so me and some of my friends were like, after conference, let's go grab some wings, whatever. And I sat down and opened the menu, and I just ordered a drink. I was like, I'm not going to pay $30 for wings.
And I heard this. I heard from just a friend of mine who was down there from Winnipeg.
Yeah.
He said you're looking 50, 60 minimum per person.
Yeah.
For meals down there,
Yeah.
right? So it's not a cheap area.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Did you like the food at the Hard Rock Cafe?
I mean, it was all right. Like,
Yeah, but it wasn't like top burger ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like chicken sandwiches, so I'll eat one anywhere,
Yeah.
and it's always a good time. But
Okay.
$45, like this is the thing, is that is that I didn't have to buy any other meal that week actually.
Okay.
Just because of the way it worked out with conference provided meals and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was the one meal I bought, but it used up 3 days worth of food budget. You know what I mean?
Like a normal place. Yeah. Like if you go to Winnipeg or Regina or something.
$45,
Right?
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
And then Hey Fried Chicken in town has a better sandwich
Yes, it does.
for like,
I'm
know,
not surprised by
$12
this.
or something. I don't know what their menu actually is, but
You got to check out Hey Fried Chicken if you haven't yet.
That's really what this episode is about.
It's really good.
Check out Hey Fried Chicken.
And get a whistle dog sometime throughout your
Whistle
week.
dog. Yeah.
So, cool. Well, I'm glad but conference itself was good. You had fun down there. Like you got to see some people.
Yeah, I think me and you through text, we were like,
Yep.
this is like the sessions were solid,
Yep.
learning lots, which
Yep.
is really what you want from a session. Like when you go to a conference, you want to learn, you want to get better.
Absolutely.
So I enjoyed that, and we made some voting changes that I thought were very encouraging.
I
and
agree.
Yeah. So, you know,
Right on.
all in all, that was my In the Neighborhood this week, and I was not in the neighborhood for this week. So
All right. Well, that's all good. That's all good. I guess we're going to turn the attention now to our listeners or viewers, as it may be. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about this episode? What do you think about Tim Horton's pizza? Have you tried it?
yeah, we want to know.
I know one gentleman who likes it. So, what about McDonald's getting rid of self-serve soda?
That's right.
Do you like ranch? Somehow we got to ranch. It
Are
wasn't
you
even
going
in
to
our notes.
rage?
Yeah,
Are you going to rage with me against the machine here?
against ranch.
The ranch machine. Big Ranch is trying to suppress our voices.
Absolutely. Last week, I believe it was during Parley, we talked about reboots.
That's right. Well,
and-
so now this is time for
Yeah.
How About You?
How about you?
And we actually have feedback.
Yeah. Why don't you read a comment that we got?
Wow. Okay. So this is just what I have to say really quick because producer Ashley dropped a note. In the States, a messy burger would cost $27 Canadian.
Interesting.
So it's totally location based.
So you're getting,
Totally
you're getting a deal down there.
Niagara, getting a rip off of a lifetime.
I told you should have been eating all your meals in Windsor, but you didn't listen to me the whole time.
I should have went over to Buffalo. Should have had some American food.
Yeah.
Okay, but sorry. So for How About You, some of you actually gave feedback, which is cool. There's one noted here. How would you say this name, Jordan?
Imenchi.
Imenchi.
Yeah.
Do you know Imenchi?
I do.
Great.
Yeah.
Do I?
I think so.
I'm so bad with names on paper. I can't. So thank you for writing in, Imenchi.
Yeah.
Okay. Ian says, reboots are better than remakes because they are trying to be somewhat original, but no one should ever rebook or reboot, I think, or remake Back to the Future movies. Those movies are perfect and should be left just as they are. So he's responding to last week's parlay about reboots.
I agree with him, I think.
You do?
I do. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want Back to the Future redone. And this brings up an interesting point because Michael J. Fox was just like recently, this past week, kind of controversial about reboots and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and talked about how, like, you know, in his day, and he actually made a comment. I'm going to look it up right now just to make sure I'm being true to him here.
Sure.
But he made a comment about just how you needed more talent in his day because you had a lot less going on with production and with what you can do with the screen, what you can do with, like, you know, AI and different other things that are out there nowadays.
Yeah,
and that in the 80s, you really, really, really had to have a lot of talent because they weren't going to be using a lot of that kind of stuff to prop you up, right? But I like the Back to the Future movies. I've only watched them, you'll laugh at me for this, probably in the last 10 years. But I was at a church in Winnipeg pastoring there, and we did a series of messages called God in the Movies.
Yeah.
And one of the movies that they gave me to talk about was Back to the Future.
It's very 2007 of you guys.
Yeah, and so we did that. It was good. It was a good series. People loved it, actually.
Yeah.
My favorite one I did was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but I'll digress from that today. Okay. But
let's hear the sermon.
When I watched Back to the Future, I was blown away just with, like, you know, how current the movie can be. There's some stuff in there that probably isn't, you know, overly 20-ish like relevant, but
I've got some thoughts about the contents of Back to the Future. Let me tell you that.
Did you like the movie?
The movie, the premise,
Yeah.
it's more fun at the very beginning and the very end.
Okay.
The middle portion,
Porzy?
I mean, it's kind of rough, man.
Okay.
Like,
Interesting.
the main crux of the story is Michael J. Fox trying to not get with his mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just a weird premise. You know what I mean? Like,
and
I'm just like...
if you look at it on that side, I can get where you're coming at with that, but I think the movie overall was making a greater point than that.
I think when you look under like the junior associate producer or something, you're going to see like Sigmund Freud in there or something, is all I'm saying. There's some weird stuff going on. I don't know. But the premise is cool when he plays a guitar and blows himself backwards off that giant speaker.
Fun scene.
Whatever, that stuff is cool. But I would take issue with Imenchi's comment here with the Back to the Future movies being perfect.
Okay.
I mean, I would say, sure, let's not reboot them. Like, we don't need to. But I also just think that it's the same with cover music, where I'm like, if you're not really doing something interesting, like, we don't need bands like Weezer covering every song under the planet.
We don't, but it's good when they do.
Under the planet, on the planet, under the sun.
Yeah.
You think it's good?
I think those albums are fun, and they serve a certain group, yeah. Now, is it one of my favorite Weezer records? By no means, no.
See, this is what I'm saying.
But
it's like, I want
do
Weezer
I
to do
need
Weezer.
it? No,
I don't even
not
like
really.
Weezer.
I don't need it, right? But they did. What was my favorite cover they did? They did Africa pretty good.
Yeah, they
By
did.
Toto.
They did an okay job.
Yeah.
They did an all right job.
They stayed close to the originals, though. They weren't like... See, now you got me on a whole different tangent now. But when bands do covers, if they rearrange a song in such a way where I could hardly recognize it, then I actually like the cover a lot more. Because they've given me a new perspective to see the song through.
So what about the Almost
Okay.
covering Good Girl? Is that... No, Free Falling? What's the name of the
Oh,
song?
yeah, Free Falling, yeah.
Free Falling?
Yeah.
Did you ever listen to that?
I never did, actually.
Jordan, you
I
have
don't think
to.
I did.
You have to.
There's
It's
been a
great
lot of
cover.
covers of Free Falling,
Okay,
though.
yeah, but they're all garbage.
No, some of them do it okay. I think it was John Mayer who did it, and he completely changed the melody of the song, but he kept the vocal melody to an extent still.
Actually, I remember
So-
his cover. It wasn't
And it wasn't
too
bad. Yeah, it was,
You
it was a
know,
little
what's
slow.
a good cover?
What's
Is
that?
Wolfpack does a cover of Something by
Okay.
the Beatles.
Yeah,
It's a great cover.
you got me thinking about covers
When I was
right
at
now.
conference, there was like a jazz trio in this restaurant that we had booked out for a social.
Doing covers.
And they were doing covers, and they started playing Something, and I was just elated by it.
That's funny.
That is a great tune.
It is a good tune.
One of my favorite tunes. Well, I'm not going to categorize it. Because
Best
that's
song
gonna
on
take too
Abbey
much
Road,
thought.
maybe.
No, dude, Abbey Road's a pretty great album. I don't know.
I want to see what you'd say. That's why I threw it out there.
Sure,
Yeah.
let's say it for now and see if people, crucify me for it. But
Yeah,
thank you, Imenchi, for your feedback, and we want more of that, right?
we do.
If we
do.
didn't highlight a comment of yours or feedback from last week, we're just going to keep on scooping them up, and we're going to be working on getting your feedback when we do How About You. So this week, to recap our How About Yous, what we want to hear from you on are...
Why Ethan should like ranch.
No. Okay. See, I threw to you, and I shouldn't have thrown to you because you just immediately spat in my face. What do you think about ranch? Give us your general, unbiased opinion.
Yes.
Ranch. Are you a ranch person?
not.
We also want to know about Tim's Pizza, like you mentioned earlier. Sorry, I cut you off to jump in here.
It's all good. McDonald's drinks, should they keep self-serve drinks? Is that going to change the culture of the restaurant for you? I bet you for some people it will. Literally,
It could,
right?
It could.
So, yeah.
Sometimes I go there, just bring my own cup.
Yeah.
And I just drink pop for free for hours.
Do you? You just sit outside?
I don't do that.
No, you don't.
But another thing is, what about our talks about diversity and unity?
right.
If you've got thoughts about, whether it's from a Christian perspective or just from a perspective of, humanity, like, what do you think about this discussion of unity and diversity?
Yeah,
Be interested to hear your thoughts.
definitely. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know any thoughts you've had on anything on the episode, whether you visited even at a Hard Rock Cafe and want to argue it's awesome. This is your opportunity to do that. So thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll be back next, right?
That's right. We'll catch you next week.
Awesome. Talk to you later.
Unedited is a ministry expression of the Neighbourhood Church. Hosted by Ethan Andrews and Jordan McClellan. Produced by Ashley Drayton. Find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.